Thanks. New tonight, the Ronald McDonald House of Springfield held their Halfway to Hope reception earlier this evening. The event held at Gary Rome Hyundai in Holyoke. Western Mass News stopped by that reception and spoke with Gary Rome. He tells us raising money for the Ronald McDonald House is a cause close to his heart.
I can't even imagine if our young children were being treated and we weren't able to spend time with them or be close to them while they were going through this. So it's such an important cause.
We also spoke with Michelle DeMore, Chief Executive Officer of the Ronald McDonald House. She tells Western Mass News events like Trees of Hope help raise significant funds for their organization.
If a family were to come into the area needing medical care, then they would have to stay in a hotel room, they would eat out. It would cost them approximately $300 a night. And so we as an organization provide a service that allows them to save those dollars and just care for their child.
Springfield Mayor Dominic Sarno was in attendance for the event and gave opening remarks, as you see there. The Trees of Hope fundraiser will run through November 17th.